Beyond time, perhaps, for our signature segment, Say What, where we roll out a virtual assembly line of wacky, astonishing, damnable, and ultimately revealing things uttered by politicians and the chattering class. And how about a COVID-free Say What? I say yes. So we enter a COVID-free zone and turn our lonely eyes instead to Joe Biden, who apparently decided he couldn't wait any longer to answer the lingering, increasingly damaging allegations of sexual assault by his former staffer, Tara Reade, who claims she was sexually assaulted, penetrated digitally by Biden when he was in the Senate 27 years ago. So the presumptive Democratic nominee granted an interview to Mika Brzezinski of MSNBC and declared his innocence.
Based on the investigations that have taken place so far, to the best of my knowledge, by two major papers, they interviewed dozens of my staff members, not just senior staff, but staff members, I'm told, at least that's what they said, and yes. Nobody, this was not the atmosphere in my office at all. No one has ever said anything like this. These claims are not true.
The problem Biden ran into with his campaign's claim of exoneration is that one of the papers he referenced there, the New York Times, says it did not discredit the claims, but reached no conclusion on the veracity of Tara Reade's allegations. But Biden picked MSNBC to break his silence on the matter, presumably thinking the Trump-deranged Mika Brzezinski would handle the matter more delicately, given the network's pervasive far-left ideology. But not exactly. Mika was unexpectedly aggressive once Biden got his formal denial out of the way, including a pointed question about whether Biden now regrets his unquestioning embrace of the entirely uncorroborated allegations made by Christine Blasey Ford, designed specifically to defame and destroy a prospective Supreme Court justice.
But why is it different now? Do you regret what you said during the Kavanaugh hearings?
What I said during the Kavanaugh hearings was that she had a right to be heard. And the fact that she came forward, the presumption would be she's telling the truth unless it's proved she wasn't telling the truth. Or not proved, unless it's clear from the facts surrounding it, it's not the truth.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave when we virtue signal to deceive. But old Mika kept plugging away like a prosecuting lawyer in a deposition, asking the same questions over and over to see if she'd get different responses. And sure enough, Uncle Joe let his guard down a bit and rambled.
Are you absolutely positive there is no record of any complaint by Tara Reade against you?
I am absolutely positive that no one that I'm aware of ever has been made aware of any complaint, a formal complaint made by or a complaint by Tara Reade against me at the time this allegedly happened 27 years ago, or until I announced for I guess it was in April or May of this year. I know of no one who's aware that any complaint was made.
Please email me if you understand that answer. But the upshot of it all is that Biden and his fellow travelers on the left will now be hoisted on their own petard. The assertion which they've shouted from the rooftops anytime Trump or any Republican gets accused of sexual impropriety, that the woman must be believed even without a single piece of evidence. And indeed, many, if not most, on the left persist in the belief that Justice Kavanaugh was guilty simply by virtue of being accused and being a conservative. So that creates a sticky situation for the women Biden is considering for his running mate, including one who's a media darling and is openly campaigning for the job, Stacey Abrams, who went on CNN and had no choice but to say the Kavanaugh case and this are, well, different.
I believe that women deserve to be heard, and I believe that they need to be listened to. But I also believe that those allegations have to be investigated by credible sources. The New York Times did a deep investigation, and they found that the accusation was not credible. I believe Joe Biden. I believe that he is a person who has demonstrated that his love of family, his love of our community has been made perfectly clear through his work as a congressional leader and as an American leader. I know Joe Biden, and I think that he is telling the truth and that this did not happen.
So Uncle Joe gets the benefit of the doubt, of course, from the woman willing to do or say just about anything, including the untrue statement that the New York Times said that Tara Reade's claim was not credible, anything to get on that presidential ticket. But what happens when she's confronted with the hypocrisy of it all by people more concerned about sexual impropriety than presidential politics? But for what it's worth, the former vice president was endorsed by the woman who he says should rightly be sitting in the Oval Office right now.
I'm really thrilled to have my friend, the former senator and former Secretary of State, and the woman who should be President of the United States right now, Hillary Clinton.
I want to add my voice to the many who have endorsed you to be our president. Just think of what a difference it would make right now if we had a president who not only listened to the science, put facts over fiction, but brought us together, showed the kind of compassion and caring that we need from our president, and which Joe Biden has been exemplifying throughout his entire life.
What you notice in the talking points of Stacey Abrams and Hillary Clinton and most Biden supporters these days is how Joe is just a great guy, a family man, a man of deep and abiding compassion. Problem is, that doesn't distinguish him from millions of other kind, compassionate family men scattered across the country. It's hardly a qualification to be president, but the Biden campaign apparently feels it's a winning argument against a president they believe, honestly believe, is hated by the rest of the country every bit as much as them. And Biden himself is hardly immune from Trump derangement syndrome. Consider his claim, with no basis, no statements, no evidence, that Trump is planning to postpone the election, a serious claim which, just like that of Christine Blasey Ford, is entirely baseless.
Your likely Democratic opponent, Joe Biden, recently suggested that you were considering changing the date of the election, that you might try something like that. That's my first question. The second question
I never even thought of changing the date of the election. Why would I do that? November 3rd. It's a good number. No, let him know I'm not thinking about it at all. Not at all.
Well, perhaps the president put that matter to rest. We close, say what, with the most clear evidence yet of how the media is serving as almost a campaign arm of the Democrats by outright blaming Trump for COVID-19 fatalities. It's this question asked by New York Magazine correspondent Olivia Nuzzi at one of Trump's briefings.
The American president loses more Americans over the course of 6 weeks than died in the entirety of the Vietnam War. Does he deserve to be reelected?
That's Olivia Nuzzi of New York Magazine. Think she would have asked Barack Obama the same question?